Okay, guys. So yesterday we talked about infographics and we were looking at, in particular, the various format sizes that you can have. So I want you to keep these sizes in mind. By now you should have made some sketches with very rough sketches with some indication of what colors you're going to use on them. Today, I'm going to use this format here. It's the tall one. It's 600 pixels by 1260. Okay, so that's really important. I'm going to put pixels in, not centimeters, because that is really big and your computer will not cope with that. So 600 by 1260 is what I'm going to do. So I've now got Photoshop here in front of me and I'm going to go to create new. And for now, I'm just going to go to print and I'm just going to put in, I will put in A4, but then I'm going to go over here and change the size. So firstly, I'm going to call it infographic and it's the design process. So I'm going to name my file. I'm going to change this to pixels. That's really important. And this is going to be 600. And I think I said 1280. Okay, make sure it says pixels. You can choose your orientation, either portrait or landscape. And then I'm going to click create. I'm going to leave it at 300 resolution because if I print these out, it won't be pixelated. So that's 300 pixels per inch and then click create. Okay, so this is my document that I'm going to put my infographic on. The next thing I'm going to do is over here, there's a little box. It's called auto select. Whenever you click on something on your document, it will select that for you. So you don't have to go to layers and click on it. So I like that button. I'm going to use that. The other thing I'm going to do is go to window. I'm going to make sure I've got history, which I can see I've already got. My layers have disappeared since I've restarted my computer. So there's my layers. I've also got my tools are missing. So tools are down here. So there's my toolbar. And I'm also going to click a new one, and that is swatches. And these are my colors. So these are going to come in handy. And there's all these different color schemes that you can pick from. So, you don't have to necessarily go to the color wheel. So I'll just show you, there's all these color schemes. You still need to know what colors are opposite each other. Okay, so there's my swatches, and you can see when I click on the swatches, I've got a eyedropper as well, which lets you pick colors. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my layers because I need that. And I'm going to give it a colored background. So I'm going to go, where's my swatches gone? There they go. I'm going to go edit, fill, and I'm going to put a color there. It says here foreground color, but I can actually go here and my eyedropper is working already. So instead of using this color, I can automatically go here. I'm going to pick a lovely pastel pink. Ooh. Oh, no, go back. I'll do it now. Edit, fill. Okay, so that's my pink. So I did it, yeah. So you can see what I've done there. I simply went edit, fill, and I said foreground color, which means this is your foreground. That's the background color. So if you want to have two colors there ready to go, you can do that. And then you can just click OK, and then you can go to the eyedropper and then edit, fill, and it will use that color. Okay. Right. Now, next thing I'm going to do is put my heading, which is the design process. So I'm going to click T for text. Got horizontal, but you can do vertical, but I prefer horizontal. It's quite traditional. I'm just going to stick to Lato, which is just a sans serif font. I'm going to make it a bit bigger so I can see it. And I'm going to change this to I'm going to swap those around so that the text is in white. That's too big. You might have to experiment here. The design process. And then I'm going to use the move tool to move it. And then I'm going to go back to the text tool, highlight it, and make it smaller. That's better. Okay, now you can see I've got my guidelines already set to go from last lesson. You can see they go pink and it centers things for me. I'm going to introduce you to some more guides, which I think are really useful. So if you go to View, go to New Guide Layout. You can actually put lots of guides there. That's the default. This is really handy if you're going to put lots of shapes all over your page. So it's already given me 8 columns. These won't appear on the final document. They're just there as guidelines and they're really handy. So they're columns. I'm going to add some rows and I'm going to put 4 rows. So now click OK. And now I've got all these wonderful guides that I can line up all these shapes that I'm going to be putting onto this design process. Just to remind you, shapes are really useful. And I'm going to go back and show you some examples. So if we go over here, you can see that a lot of infographics put things into circles. They don't have to be circles. They can be rectangles or, you know, hexagons or whatever, but circles are quite handy. You know, this is I like this one here. So I might do a bit of that and a bit of this one here with the icons. Okay, so let's just go back to Photoshop. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my color. So I'm going to pick a color for my foreground, and this is going to be the color of my shape. So I think I'm going to stick to this pastel color scheme because these colors automatically match. So if you're not very good at matching colors, that's the beauty of swatches. You've got all these amazing color schemes to pick from. Okay, so I'm going to stick to pastels and I'm going to make it my foreground color pink. Okay, so over here are my shapes. So this is what happens when you restart Photoshop. You also lose your traditional tools. So now is the time for me to show you how to get those tools back. So if I go over here, if I click this little tiny triangle, I can actually edit my toolbar and get my shapes back. Okay, so at some point you're going to need this, and I can scroll down and find my tools, find what I'm looking for. Here they are. They're here. They were here all along. I just couldn't see them. Okay. All right. While we're here, you know, you might sort of think, oh, gosh, I wish I had this triangle tool, for instance. You can just drag it over into your toolbox. And that's how that works. Okay, so at some point, you're going to need that anyway. All right. It turns out I do have my shapes. There they are. Okay, so there's my shapes here. And I'm going to use the ellipse tool, which is going to make a circle for me. Now, normally when I use the ellipse tool, it just does that. If I click Shift, it will turn it into a perfect circle. And can you see how I can actually use these little guides to help me Now, why has it done that? Okay, well, firstly, because up here, that's my fill color, which is pink. But more importantly, the stroke is the outline. It's really thick and I don't want a stroke at all. So, you know, you can make the stroke as big as you like. You can have a thin stroke too if you want, but I actually don't want a stroke. So I'm going to get rid of that. And so I'll click out of that. So there's my first circle. If I want to move it around, there's my move tool. I can click on it and it will move. The reason why it moves when I click on it is because I've got auto select here, right? If for some reason that doesn't work, just click on the layer that you want to use. So there you go, click on that layer. Now, I'm going to put my first icon in that circle. So I'm going to go File, Place Embedded, and I've made a folder called Icons, and I've saved a few. So I'm going to put this one in. Okay, Place. It's quite big, but I'm going to shrink it. Okay, so now at some point, this is going to get too small for you to use. So there you go. I'm going to place that right there. So enter. When this happens, when everything gets too small, if you've got a Mac, just use your mouse pad and you know how to enlarge things. Or if you don't, you can go Command plus or Control plus if you've got a PC. Control plus will enlarge everything for you. Now I've got a good view of it. I click on that and I can move it around. No, it's not auto clicking for me. Click on that. So if that happens and you're moving the wrong thing, just go to the layer. That's it there. Now, I need to get rid of this. Click enter. Okay. So when you've got this, have a look at the layer over here. You can see that there's this funny little sort of rectangle in there. That means it's a smart object. I'm not going to explain what a smart object is, but what I'm going to tell you is you need to turn that into a pixel object or a raster object. Okay, so we right click it and we go rasterize layer. That's all you need to do. Now you can edit this. Okay, you can do whatever you want with it. You can rub things out. You can fill it with color. Okay, so firstly, I'm going to get my eraser and I'm going to rub out this bit here. To make my eraser bigger, I just use, oops, my eraser is really big actually. There we go. I use the curly braces underneath the delete button. I can use the left or the right one. And I'm going to use a nice sharp, hard one. Okay. And I'm just going to rub that writing out. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the color of that light bulb. You don't have to do that, but you can if you want to. I'm going to show you how to do it. This is where you could use a tool like the magic wand, because the magic wand, if it's got a solid color, it will select it for you. See? And I'm going to change the fill color to green. Okay. And I'm just going to go edit, fill, and foreground color, which is that one. I'm going to click OK. Okay. And then to get rid of those little marching ants, which is what they call them, Command D. Okay. It's not the best color scheme, but I'm just working through this to show you how to do it. Now, I'm going to show you one more technique. First, I'm going to move that because I don't like it. Let's put it there. So that's my ideas one. I'm going to do another, actually I'll do another circle. So I'm going to click Shift. Oh no, that's not a circle. I've selected. Okay, if you make a mistake, say press enter, to get rid of it, just go to your layers and just drag it in the bin. Okay, so that's how you get rid of a mistake. I'm just going to stick to one sort of shape. That means it's more simple, okay? And like I said, simplicity is important. It's going to make that one a bit smaller. So when I do that, this came up, so I can go up here or hit down here, or I can go up here and change the fill color to, say, I was using my pastel, so I'm going to use one of these. And I'm going to get rid of that stroke. So click on stroke. You can also go no stroke, which is this. Okay. And I'm going to put another, to get rid of that, just press enter or click out of it. Oops. Or go on to the move tool. I'm going to put another shape, and I'm going to show you how to fill it, because that shape has holes all over it. And I'll show you what I mean in a sec. So I'm going to go File, Place Embedded again. And I'm going to use this one. This is my evaluation icon that I found. Okay. I shrink it. Now, if for some reason you click enter and you want to reshrink that and you can't see the box, just go Command T, which is Command Transform, and that'll give you the box around it to shrink it. If you have a PC, it's Control T. That'll let you shrink it, okay? It'll also let you move it. Now, click enter. Just going to enlarge that. You can see that if I try to use the magic wand, and I'll do that in a sec, if I try to use the magic wand on that, all the color, it won't select this area, it'll select everything, and I'll show you what I mean. Firstly, I'm going to rub out the writing. I'm going to show you another way of rubbing that out. You can just use this selection tool, rectangular marquee. You can draw a rectangle around it and press delete. Oh, I've got to turn it into a raster first, okay? A raster is just a pixel object. So right click, rasterize. Okay, now I can delete it, okay? And then Command D to deselect. Now, if I use the magic wand, it's going to select, it's actually selected everything. The magic wand has escaped out of this and has selected everything. So if I do edit fill and I choose this green, it's just going to color everything, okay? So, and it's good that I made that mistake, because I'm going to show you the history tool. I'm just going to go backwards in history, okay? So that's the history. That's why history is so important. Control Z doesn't work on Photoshop. It only works once. So that's why you use history. So what I'm going to use instead is I can use something called the magnetic lasso, which is like a magnet, and you just draw your selection area and it traces things really easily. Sometimes you've got to click it to help it along. And I find this really useful. I use it a lot. And it just selects, it kind of guesses what you want to select. And now this is the bit I need to stop, and I need to click, make a point, and then click down. Okay, so, and then click. So you're kind of making a selection for it, and you're helping it along. So you're clicking, you know, and then the first and the last dot have to meet. If you make a bit of a mistake, you can go up here and, you know, minus it. Oops. Anyway, so now I've got a selection and I can fill just that area. So I can go edit, fill, and I'm going to pick this color, the foreground. Okay. Okay, so what happened there? I forgot to trace around the middle section. Okay, so, you know, Command D, or I can go backwards in history, And what I should have done was I should have also added to my selection, which is what that is. So I should have just done this as well. Sorry. Oops. This one's, oh, it's not very good today. I'm doing something wrong anyway. Okay, so that should work now. It's a bit messy. Okay, so edit, fill, foreground, and there we go. And then I can also color that in quite easily. Command D. I can use the magic wand. So, you know, you might decide you don't want to color these icons in. I'm simply showing you so that you just have some more skills. Okay, Command D. So that's probably, it's not as neat as I would like it. And I actually prefer the transparent icons, to be honest with you. And the last thing I want to just remind you is your text tool. You need to have a very, very brief description of each one of these processes. Click on the T and draw a box. You can draw a text box to make it fit. So it lines up exactly. Can you see how my text box is lining up with that circle? So that's really neat. That's called alignment. And, you know, your explanations should be no more than one sentence. So this is for ideas. So I'm going to type in, change a color. Don't forget to change. I'm just going to make it black. And write ideas. I don't think it wrote anything. Ideas. Okay. Make that black and make it smaller and move it. Don't know what that didn't work. There we go. Or you can put that there, right in the middle. So that's right in the center. And then you can put your little text box underneath that and explain what you mean by ideas. Okay, so yeah, there we do. We'll do a text box again. That one didn't work. So this is, okay, that's working now. So, you know, sometimes I make mistakes too. Ideas. Just going to make that a lot smaller. Now, it goes down to 6, but you can actually type in whatever number you want. 3, and click out of it and it'll make it smaller. Okay, so finally, I'm just going to save this. It's not a great looking poster. For instance, this doesn't stand out at all. So I don't like that. So I'm going to use a bit of contrast before I save it because that looks shocking. I'm going to just do it in black, which is here. And I'm going to change the font because I'm allowed to use more than, I can use 2 fonts. I like this one. It's friendly. Okay, so 2 fonts. They're both sans serif, no little tails. And your heading should be a different font just to make it stand out, but then you shouldn't use more than 2 fonts overall. So that's already looking okay. So now I'm going to save it as a PSD file. Save on your computer. Now, why do I save it as a PSD file, Photoshop file? Because it means that if I don't finish it, or if I'm not 100% liking it, I can open it up again and it's going to open up all these layers here, and I can go back and I can delete things if I don't like them. I can just drag them into the bin like that. Okay, that is why. Once the poster is complete though, and you need to say upload it on Canvas, you need to save it as, save as, file save as. You need to save it as either a JPEG, which is just a very common photographic file format that every everyone recognizes, but you can also save it as a PDF, which is another very common file format. Usually posters are saved as PDFs actually. And then that way you can upload that onto Canvas. You can send it to a printer. You can get it printed professionally. Yeah. Whereas the PSD or the Photoshop file is only there if you want to edit it, go back and re-edit, and that happens a lot. So that was fairly long, and that's all I'm going to say now. There's quite a bit of you're going to have to pause this video as you make it, and yeah, and you may make mistakes. So I've told you how to get rid of your mistakes. At least you can sort of just drag things into the bin from here, or you can go back in history like that. Okay, so that's it. Thanks, guys.